Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Not in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, the loving light will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream, and a special shout out to the Loving Life family. Firstly, I want to make it clear that Loving Life and Loving Life TV takes no sides, and also want to give an opportunity to all to state their cases fairly and properly in due course. It was my decision alone to run the story, and of course Anthony Hall will be given his chance to present his side when and if he feels fit to do so. Marlena has been in touch with him in the past. Anthony Hall is the owner of RAEL Rehab. He is an outspoken but colourful personality on social media and president of SA4A, a political party. Let's first hear a clip of what Anthony Hall said just last week on social media. Here we go.
Eh? Wouldn't you be complimenting him? So Johan Rousseau came out there and he helped me get Michael out. He did the work. He got Michael out of prison, cost a lot of money, 12 or 13,000. I got Michael off the court case the next day, because that's my speciality. You don't have to be a lawyer to get a court case. You just need a couple of rand in your pocket. And Johan Rousseau helped us that day. There is just no doubt. He didn't come there as UIM executive, no. He came there as Johan Rousseau from I think it's Facebook.
I just want to make one little statement there, and I've talked about this a lot on Loving Life. That is how the justice system works in South Africa, apparently. Now, a week ago, I was approached by email by one of my guests tonight who wished to share his story about the treatment he personally received at the RAEL Rehab. I'd sat on this story because there was no collaborating evidence behind the allegations. This changed last night when the man running the rehab, Kurt Schuller, and about 10 of the occupants walked out of the facility. We will find out why tonight. This is just a small part of what Kurt Schuller, who ran RAEL, had to say on Facebook last night. Here we go.
Yeah, without me taking my meds for a couple of days, I'll be honest with you, not a person on the program, another psychopath over there on the farm. Just like me, I'm a psychopath. Sorry, I don't mean to call names. I just don't know which other word to use. Has been irritating me and irritating me and irritating me. And I mean, it's It's been put all over Facebook that I've been running the farm so well for the last 2 years, and I've got the most experience and all this and that and whatever, because I ran for 2 years as well in 2.5 years. Yeah, Alex, I needed the go-ahead and the funds, eh? When my dog Gracie gave birth 5 years ago, she was put outside the house and put behind Richie's room, because that was a way of getting to me. So people, I've got stories. I can take you back to 2007. I can tell you stories about psych wards and people that needed to be bailed out of them. I can tell you about alcohol relapses in 2013. I can tell you a lot of things, but that would be unprofessional. And what was done to me this evening on Rael's page and then blocked me so that I can't defend myself was unprofessional. I was such a bad druggie, eh? That I would sell, if I only had a t-shirt left on my body and that could get me my next fix, that's what I would sell. I can tell you this ring wouldn't be on my finger because I'm not married. Are you sure this is Coke, Michael?
I'm 100% sure. Do you want to see that?
There's still a 30 packet of tick in the safe on the farm.
Okay, that's just a couple of small clips, and you heard what he said right at the end there. Now, Loving Life TV has been approached by a number of people who stayed at Rael since putting up this reminder for tonight's live stream. Tonight, Louis will be joining Rian. Please remember to register to lovinglifetv.com and bookmark the webpage to be kept informed, as there will be more live streams on this subject later this month. Feel free to put your questions in the side chat. I'll get my guests Louis and Rian on. Hi Rian.
Hi Scott, how are you doing?
Excellent, thank you, excellent, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And we've got Louis there as well. We'll talk to Louis shortly, but
Yes.
I just want to start off with you. Let's start off with, how did you find out about this rail rehab facility, and why did you go there?
Scott, I saw live on Facebook, I think it was October, November last year. My wife was actually following Anthony Hall on Facebook, and they made a live video like they do on Facebook, where they actually took a video and they walked around. Well, they walked around the rehab, and I saw what they were showing there was quite catchy, and they were selling the place in a good way, if I can put it that way.
Right.
And I saw this place. I saw the oaks that was talking on there. I mean, there was about 3 or 4 patients that was talking, and that's why I decided I think the 6-month thing would work for me.
Right. Okay. So what happened? You obviously approached Rael and they offered you a place. Is that right?
That's right. Then I decided the following Monday, my wife actually made contact with Kurt. She got his number. She spoke to Kurt, and Kurt explained to her how it works. Then the fees, apparently the standard fees or the the normal fees is 14,000 Rand a month. Now, on the time that I decided to go to that rehab, I was basically bankrupt, if I can put it that way. So finances, I mean, I couldn't afford to pay 14,000 Rand a month to go to this rehab, and my wife explained it just like that to Kurt. So Kurt said to her that I will get sponsored by this man called Anthony David Hall, and he will sponsor me the 8 or the 9,000 Rand for. I can pay 6,000 Rand a month. Then I decided, okay, my dad said, in that case, if I really wanted help, my dad would assist me with the finances part on that side. We contacted them. My dad paid over the 6,000 Rand, where he could phoned us 2-3 times a day to pay over the money, otherwise I'm going to lose the bed. And I really didn't want to lose that bed, because I honestly believe these oaks are brilliant, because if I look at the mass amount of people that is there, it looked like the rehab that can help me. And after paying the 6,000 Rand, we decided that I will go there. I think it was the 8th or the 9th. The reason I know that, we decided I didn't want to go after the 11th, because it was a 6-month program, and I did not want to get back after my wife's birthday, which is the 11th of June. So I went there, I think it was the 8th of Jan, 8th of December, sorry, just before Christmas. Yeah, and when I got there, unfortunately, the video they made and the reality there was two different places, and it was different people as well.
Right, can you tell us how it was different?
Scott, to put it in a nice picture, when you walk into the obviously everybody knows this is a farm or a small holding. As you enter the rehab, I would say the kibbutz or the rehab, whatever the case, there's units, I call it, on the right hand side and the left hand side, because as you walk in, there's Wendy houses, the normal, like we all know a Wendy house,
yeah,
your normal 3x3 Wendy house, basic. And then on the right hand side, it's not a normal Wendy house, it's more like a log cabin, decent, like I saw on the video, with a TV and a little wash basin, little stove in, etc, etc. So when I got there, we walked into what they call the house. This is now the main house on the farm.
Right.
Myself, my wife, my son, and my mother went into the house, I would say, where the office is, where Kurt actually interviewed me, and we had a chat for about 40 minutes. Thereafter, my family left, and they obviously searched my bags for any drugs or alcohol or whatever I can bring in there. And eventually, when I went to my so-called unit room, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was filthy. There was, to put it in a nutshell for you. When I walked into the Wendy house, there was 2 beds. It was 2 beds on a normal wooden single beds, with a mattress with absolutely nothing on it. Nothing. I'll never forget that scene. The mattresses had about 3 or 4 holes in it. There was no pillowcases. There wasn't even a curtain on the Wendy house on the window. The poor oak that stayed with me, or that was supposed to be my roomie or my partner, he took his own pillowcase as a little curtain, so the sun can't come into the Wendy house. And my unit was exactly right opposite the pig stall. There was a big pig on the farm, and when I got there, I saw, I'm going to lie to you, 3, 4, 5 guys, I can't remember. These poor oaks were busy cleaning the pig cage, stall, and throwing this pig shit, if I can call it that,
Sure.
onto a bucket. And it was I reckon it was anything between 28 to 32 degrees on that farm the day I got there. So you can imagine it was hot.
Right.
You're staying in this windy house, and here's the smell of pig shit coming from about 10 meters from our room. That was the first half an hour, 40 minutes. I already saw, I don't know if I'm going to make it here. But I knew in my back of my head, I can't turn around now. I'm an addict. Yes, although it was my idea to go there, nobody forced me to go there. But in the back of my mind, I said to myself, if I turn around now, everybody is going to think I'm using this as an excuse. So I walked around the farm for about 20 minutes, half an hour thereafter, to see what is going on. And there I went to Tank. Now, Tank is the manager on the farm. You get Kurt, which was the CEO, so-called CEO. Then it was Tank, he was the manager. I went to him about 2 hours after I booked myself in there, and I said to him, listen, this is not going to work for me. So his exact words were, what do you mean, what is not going to work for you? I said, this is not going to work for me. I said to him, please, if it's possible, if you guys, because my parents and my wife, my daughter and my son dropped me off in Worcester. We are from Port Elizabeth, and they were obviously on their way back from Worcester to Port Elizabeth. Now, give and take, they had about a 2.5 hour drop since they dropped me off. So, excuse me. I said to Tank, please phone my family before they drive all the way to PE. That's why I decided I'm definitely not sleeping in this place tonight. I'm lying now, sorry. Before I made the call, I asked for the call. We had lunch. That was just after 1.
Right.
I forgot about. That's where I had the bologna bread. When you come into the rail rehab, on the right hand side there's a unit there, quite a biggish unit. That's the eetsaal, if I can put it that way. Yes, the dining room. Yes. Right. We all went to sit down there, and I can remember Tank and 2 other oaks brought the food to us. I don't know the other oaks' names, and it wasn't even put by us. It was like you throw a frisbee, I could say, like sommer gooi it on the table. And there we each got 6 slices of bread. It's 2 broodjies in Afrikaans. Yeah. Where the bologna, look, I love bologna, don't get me wrong. I'm not spoiled. I love bologna, but this bologna I saw here was yellow brown. It was stone hard. And I mean, I didn't eat anything that day. I was hungry. Although I had 2,000 rands groceries in my unit, which they didn't want to give to me as well. There I decided I'm going to give the food to the lady that was sitting next to me. I also don't know his name. All I can remember is he's never ever spoken since he's been there. And he ate all my bread. And after this lunch, we all went to our units, and the oaks went to their pig stall, cleaning up there. And I went to my unit, and that's where I actually went to Tank, and I said to Tank, please phone my family. This is not for me. After 3-4 attempts asking Tank to please phone my family, he was walking up and down, and I saw this oak is ignoring me. He's not taking me serious. So I went for the 5th time, probably. I went to Tank. I said to Tank, either you phone my family or I'm walking. So his exact words to me was, well, in that case, F off from our farm. I said to him, are you chasing me away now? He said, F off from our farm. And that's where when I booked in there, my family gave me 1,000 rand for what they call tuck shop money. Right. So obviously they kept the 1,000 rand. You can't give an addict 1,000 rand in a rehab, obviously. And I said to him, so you're denying me a call? He said to me, that's against the policy. They're not allowed to phone the family. Now, I just want to explain to you, this rehab is not in Worcester. It's plus my approximately 20 k's out of Worcester. I'm from PE. I've never been in Worcester. I don't know. I mean, on this gravel road, I can remember there's a short left or a short right. I got lost. I got totally lost there. I don't have a phone. I don't have money. They left me to walk this 20 k's onto the freeway. I was almost robbed as well. There was three colours walking on the opposite side where I was walking, and I just started running. When the first coloured actually walked over to me, and the other two came from the back side. All I had on me was my tackies. I didn't have any wallet, nothing.
Right.
They didn't want to give me. And yeah, there I started running. I took my shoes out, started running, and that's why I walked about 15 k's. And eventually I got to a truck driver which stood next to the road, and I asked him, can I please phone my family? So he gave me his cell phone. I phoned my wife on my mother's phone, and that's where I told my wife, excuse me, that they must please turn around. On that time, my parents just got into Knysna. Now you can imagine, they drove 2 hours before me, so I've walked about 3 hours from rail to where I got the phone call. Where anything could have happened with me. I mean, at the end of the day, Scott, my family dropped me off at rail, and they paid these people. They asked us to pay the 6,000 rand, which we did. And my family left me there with the intention that they leave me in their safety, if I can put it that way. I could have been robbed. I could have been... anything could have happened to me next to that road. Nobody, apparently they told my parents, or my wife when she phoned, and she said to Kurt, she phoned Kurt, the CEO, she said to Kurt, how can you let my husband walk? I mean, at the end of the day, this man doesn't know where he is, how to get anywhere. Kurt said, yeah, they did send a bakkie out to come look for me. That was a lie. That was, nobody came to look for me. There was no bakkie sent. I walked all the way there, and I walked all the way back. So eventually, after I got hold of my parents, my dad asked me, where will I get him? I said to him, well, I'll get him, I'll go stand at because the mall wasn't too far from where I was standing on the freeway. You can see there's a big mall in Worcester.
Right.
So my dad suggested that I rather go back to the rehab and start packing my stuff, etc. So I walked back to the rehab. I got in there. Then a gentleman called AD, I think is his name, Tank, and Kurt, the CEO, were very aggressive when I got in there. Excuse me. When I say aggressive, Tank chased me away. He said to me, I must walk. So Kurt told me I left without permission. I said, how did I leave without permission? This man told me to F off, and he's not allowing me to phone my family. I'm not going to stay here. You don't want me to phone my family. So I walked to phone my family. So there was three guys standing at the entrance as you came in there. And Kurt were very, very aggressive. And this AD, I had a little brown baggie that I always wear with me. But obviously on that time they took everything when I booked in there. The only things I had in my bag was a packet of cigarettes, a lighter, and a packet of beaches. So this AD came up to me and he said to me, you went to fetch drugs now. You went to fetch drugs. I said to him, how must I get drugs if I don't have any money? I don't have a cell phone. I'm not from Worcester. I don't have a cooking clue. And they told me to come into the office. And that's where they started standing around me. And I know when guys they're sizing me up, if I can put it that way. And myself and Kurt had a few words. And yes, I am, how can I put it? I'm not a guy that's somewhere going to get walked over. They may have spoken to most of those patients like they wanted to. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen with me. Nobody talks to me. I believe in respect, but I'll give you exactly the same respect that I receive. And that's what I did. And this 80, I think his name is 80. He's one of the caretakers of Mrs. Hall, Anthony's mother. I don't know if he's one of the bodyguards or something like that. So he actually walked up to me as if he's going to assault me, and that didn't happen. So at the time I was barefoot. Like I said, when I got there, I took my shoes off when I walked back, and I actually ran back. And I was standing in the office with my shoes on, and Kurt told me that I will not be allowed on the premises. I said to him, how can you not allow me on the premises? Then I want my refund, please. So he said, no, I'm not getting my refund. That is, well, not mine. It's actually my dad paid the 6,000 rand over. And yeah, that's where it all started. Then there was a short little guy that actually escorted me to my Wendy house to pack all my stuff. There, eventually we packed all the stuff, and they told me to go sit outside. I must sit in the street. And there I was waiting for my mother-in-law coming from Vredenburg to come fetch me out there. Yes. And that is what happened when I booked in.
Right. Now, someone on the side chat has said, Deirdre van Zyl said it's actually 4.5 kilometers from Worcester town. Is that correct? You said about 20.
Yeah. She can be right. She can be right.
Okay.
I'm not from Worcester Farm, I can't see that. I can't see 4.5 k's. There's no way that it's. But yes, I'm not going to deny it. I mean, I was walking. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Okay. Well, look, that's really a minor issue. Okay, so you were picked up and taken home, obviously.
Back to PE.
To PE.
Yes, my mother-in-law picked me up in front of Rail, and then I went to book myself into a guest house where, excuse me, my family turned around at George, and they came back to Cape Town to fetch me. So my mother-in-law picked me up, and she dropped me off at the guest house, somewhere around in 9th Hole. It was a golf course guest house, right, somewhere in Worcester. And eventually my wife, my parents, my 2 kids met up with me at the guest house. When they turned around, we slept over, and thereafter the next day I went back to PE.
Right. Yeah. Now, that was only the start of your problems, wasn't it?
That's
started happening. Tell me what happened after you got back home.
Scott, after I got back home, we arrived in PE. I can't remember, it was a Wednesday or a Thursday. So on the way back, my dad and I discussed this, and we said that we obviously want a refund on our money, and we feel that it was total misrepresentation. It was never what it was, what they said it was. So the Monday, myself, my dad, and my wife actually made, between phone calls and WhatsApps, we asked Kurt for a refund, which they denied us. They said there's no refund because they kept the bed for me. To cut the long story short, about a month ago from today, I woke up the morning and I came to sit at this exact table, and I went up on Facebook, and I saw Kurt was posting something about a charity fund where Wendy Lockett, I think it was Wendy Lockett that was involved into that charity fund, and I saw that somebody said there that rail was a scam. I didn't read through all the comments, and obviously I was quite revved up about this rail that did not want to refund us. So I went up on Facebook, and exactly what I told you guys. Now I've typed it out on a comment on Facebook, and I explained to the people, this is what happened to me. The food, the quality of the place, the attitudes, etc, etc, etc. After I've pushed share or comment, once that thing was posted onto Facebook, about 8 minutes later my phone rang. Now this is early in the morning. This was roughly 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning. I knew exactly who it was when the phone was ringing. It was not from Anthony Hall's original number, because I've got his number on my phone. He phoned me from some 072 number. And although I've got everything I'm telling you now, I can prove to you on recordings. I've got WhatsApps, I've got phone call recordings. From call number 1 he was recorded, and I don't think he knew it. Where Anthony started asking, the phone call started by, he asked me, is it Rian who's speaking now? I said, it's Rian speaking. And Anthony said, hi, this is Anthony Hall speaking. And I was quite decent to him. I said, hi Anthony, how are you doing? And he started swearing me. That's where it started. So yes, I did swear him back. I did swear him. He swore me, I swore him. And it went on like that. It was a he said, she said, he said, she said the whole time. And like I said, this was about 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning. Roughly about 1 o'clock this afternoon, we started getting calls from the public, where this actually went viral now. And Anthony started putting, he also started recording me, and he had my voice recordings where I was swearing him. So Anthony went and he posted all my voice recordings where I'm swearing him onto Facebook, but not his. So his viewers, or like he says, connections, gangsters, I don't know what to call them, started calling me. Even my daughter, he had my daughter is in a wheelchair. My daughter's paralyzed. He even had my daughter up. This is low. This is going very, very low. To put my daughter, which is a paralyzed girl, up on Facebook. And I got a call from a number. Now I've got what they call Truecaller app on my wife's phone. And when the call came through, I saw it showed first car rental. It was a Johannesburg number. First it was a lady, and the lady said, hi, who's speaking? I said, it's Rian speaking. She said to me, okay, jy sal nie vanaand, her exact words were in Afrikaans, jy sal nie vanaand 12 uur lewendig wees. You won't be alive after 12 o'clock tonight.
Wow.
I said, okay. I thought this was just
A crank.
threats. Yes, a prank call from one of his followers. The next call came through. It was a gentleman, also telling me, I will not see 12 o'clock tonight. Then Anthony started making live videos where apparently, I don't know where he was. I assume he was in Kokstad. I can't tell you. He made live videos. He said he's turning around from where he is now. Him, his 3 or 4 brothers, and his connections from PE are on the way to my house. They've got my address. They even posted my business on Facebook. And most of you have seen Anthony Hall's videos. I'm not going to collaborate in there. Where the points, he started making points that he's got a hit out on me, if I can put it that way. His exact words were, we're going to have a tea party tonight. That's now Anthony Hall and his 4 brothers and his connections. But Rian Smuts will be the only one not drinking tea. So we can read in between the brackets what he's trying to tell us there. So this went on and on and on for about 2 days. I'm talking consistent, up and down. He's threatening me. I just played voice notes that came from Anthony's phone, where he had gangsters voice recording me, or they sent me a voice recording on Anthony's phone, how they're going to kill me. 2 different oaks. I know the one oak. The one oak is actually in rehab there. He's always with Anthony, that I know. And the other oak is apparently from outside that sent me these voice clips from Anthony's phone. Then there was a gangster from PE. I can't remember his name now. I've got everything on record. And he actually posted a thing where my sister-in-law actually phoned us, and she said to my wife, please guys, leave your house right now. There's people, there's a guy that just posted, he's looking for Rian Smuts, and he wants to know where his address, what his address is. He's driving around PE, coming to take me out. So you can imagine that how I felt and how my family felt. And
Sure.
you know, I'm gonna say this to you, and having a disabled child is, when you don't have a disabled child, you will never understand what went through a dad's mind. I felt that, I said to my wife, I want them to go stay at my parents, and she just said they're not gonna come here, they're not gonna come here. And we got more and more and more phone calls and more voice clips, and it went on like that. Just to give you an example, my daughter is 14 years old, my son is 16 years old. Since this happened, they've never ever slept in their room since that day. They sleep with us every night. Every night. Do you think that's right? I mean, come on. And what I'm saying is, this is a man that is supposed to build people up like myself. I'm a drug addict. I came to this man for help. Not to come kill my family. Not to put 3 gangsters in my yard like he did 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Tell us
He's
about
also
that.
threatened. He made a live video that is coming to PE, and he's going to come sort a problem out, which was me. He stayed in PE for 2 days. The 3rd day, he went back to Cape Town. On his way back to Cape Town, he also made a live video again on his way back, where he said that he came down to sort out something, and that problem will be solved. And that was obviously me, because the night he drove back, I think it was the Thursday night he drove back, he made this live video approximately 9-10 o'clock the Thursday night. We watched it. The police was watching it with me, actually. We've got everything I say here, I can prove to you on either recordings, black and white, on messages. I've got proof of everything.
Right.
3 o'clock that Friday morning, remember, Anthony drove back the Thursday night saying that his problem will be solved tonight, or his problem will be solved. 3 o'clock, about 2:30 the Friday morning, I woke up with toothache. I had a wisdom tooth that gave me heavy upheavals. So I came to sit at this table, and like I do every morning, I make myself a cup of coffee. And I went on to Facebook, and eventually 3 o'clock in the morning, my dogs were going berserk. They were screaming. And as I opened my back door, when I opened the door, the 3 Oaks were standing 3-4 meters from me. The one was standing on, I had an old tumble dryer right against my Vibrigade wall. The one was on the tumble dryer, the one was on the wall, and the other one was standing in my yard, right next to my car. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm telling you the story here. I did not know what to do. Like I said now is, this man has put this heat out on me. I can't tell you what went through my mind, but what I tried hiding, because my mind's telling me, this guy's here to shoot me now. Anthony Hall sent these people to shoot me. So eventually, when I've got a little treadly door between myself and the back door. So when I opened the door, I couldn't run out because the treadly door was locked. And as I opened the treadly door, they started running. Now I've got a big electric gate just about a few meters from where they were standing. And 2 of them jumped over the gate, and as I opened the treadly door, the one was on top of the gate, and he looked over. I will never forget that. And he looked at me. He had a white hoodie on, and he said to me, "Jy en Naya is môre dood." And yeah, then it started, I phoned Anthony. I did phone Anthony 3 o'clock that morning. He didn't wake up. The next morning I made a live video again about me, telling everybody apparently I'm a heroin addict. Never ever had heroin in my life. I don't know how heroin looks. On the one video, I've also got this on proof. He deleted the video, but we did record that. On the one video, he said I'm a tick addict, and then I was a heroin addict. He he blamed me for all the drugs except the one that I actually was using. I was on crack cocaine. I've never ever used heroin or tick in my life. Just to show you that how clued up Anthony Hall is with what's going on in his rehab, is that I never ever used heroin. You can go back and go do research. I've been in a rehab before, 3 years ago, and I've never ever used that. The one video, he said, I'm 37 years old now. I just want to correct that. Anthony Hall said, I've been on heroin for the last 30 years. So if anybody can do a little bit of maths there, so I've been using heroin since the age of 6. I mean, come on, and that is where the lives started getting in, and he made more lives, and it was myself and Potty Potgieter. He's actually present here in my lounge at the moment, and he made lives about Neil de Beer on the same, and yeah.
Right. Now, you just talked about tick. I played a video clip at the start of this live stream where Kurt says that there are 30 parcels of tick in the safe at the Rail Rehab Center.
I saw that.
Can you tell me that? Tell me about that.
Well, all I know about that is that I went up onto Kurt's live this morning, and I also saw the video where Kurt said that there's, I'm going to talk under correction now, 30 parcels or 30 rand. I'm not sure. I couldn't hear it.
I think it was parcels.
But 30 parcels of tick in the safe.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a rehab. What are they? This is what I've heard. I mean, I didn't see this myself, but I've got a lot of people that has been phoning me after the live video that I actually made about Anthony David Hall. I forgot to talk about that, but yeah, I made a live video, and these people all told me about a lot of cruel things. Like I say, this is hearsay, but I've heard about drugs on the farm. I've heard about prostitutes. I've heard of casinos, big time casinos, where Anthony apparently has a big gambling addiction. Like I said, I just want to correct myself. It is hearsay. I can't prove that, but yeah.
Now,
getting back to
the Rail Rehab Center, is that NPO running the rehab?
Just repeat the question there, Scott.
Is it a non-for-profit organization running the rehab?
I cannot answer you on that one.
It is meant to be, and it was never trading as one. To the best of my knowledge, my son Carl registered it.
Louis, would you like to come on and have a chat to us, please?
I think so.
We'll get back to you shortly, Rian. Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Louis, have a seat.
I'm here, Scott.
Okay, now for those, we got about 300 people watching the live stream at the moment. Now, for those people watching, Louis had a son, Carl, who went to Rail, and Louis is going to be talking about that in a minute. But tell us about the non-for-profit organization, seeing you seem to know a bit about it.
Because my business and my son Carl's business involves the registration of companies, that's part of our services. When Carl was at Rail, we picked up that payments made to them for Carl's stay there was ad hoc. One, I don't have the details in front of me, but I have obviously a record of the payments. Some payments were made into Kurt Schuller's private account. Some payments were made into Anthony Hall's private account. I don't think one payment was made into any business account. At some stage, I think by the second or the third payment that was made, I speak under correction, but at some stage, say the third or the fourth payment, I actually said to Carl, you should ask Mr. Hall. At that stage, I was still thinking that this man was doing things well. But I did say to Carl, you should ask Mr. Hall about the registration. And I do know that Carl, Anthony Hall requested Carl to help him with the registration of a non-profit company, a new thing called an NPC. So whether there was ever an NPO is doubtful, and I would suggest that if anybody, anybody who wishes to investigate them should just check up on that. Yes.
Okay. Now, why did you send Carl to RAEL?
Okay. Carl was not sectioned, but ordered to a rehab, to admit himself to a rehab after being caught in possession of a certain amount of drugs. The prosecutor and the magistrate and I agreed that instead of, or not I agreed, I begged them that instead of sending him to a jail, that they would give him the option of going to rehab. From a financial point of view, we could not afford RAEL because at that stage we had heard of RAEL, but the fees were told to us then was 12,000 Rand a month. So we put Carl into a cheaper rehab in Graaf-Reinet called FOM. I think it stands for Faith Outreach Ministries or Family Outreach Ministries. Carl was supposed to be there for 6 months. Just before lockdown last year started in South Africa, on a phone call that he was allowed to get, I think 2 phone calls a week, Carl said to me, expressed to me, he said to me, Dad, I've been in rehab now for 4 months. I've got 2 months to go. At the end of these 2 months, I don't believe that I've been taught anything here about how to cope or how to not use. Carl's words to me were that I've only not used here because there's nothing available and because this rehab is 50 kilometers outside of any town. And he expressed the fear that he would come home in 2 months' time and not know why he would not go and pick up drugs. And he said to me, if I could help him get into RAEL, he would admit himself to RAEL for another 12 months. Now, in drug rehabilitation or recovery, in trying to help my son, my wife and I, specifically my wife has done a lot of research, and the one thing they say to you is, if your child says, yes, I want to go to rehab and I'm willing to go for a year, and they also have a thing called the longer the stronger, then you let him go, because the longer he's in rehab, and if he's willing to go, you don't say no, you take him. So the week of South African lockdown was the Thursday night that it started. That Monday or Tuesday morning, I can't remember exactly, I drove to pick Carl up from the rehab he was, and I drove him down to Worcester, which is a total of like 1,200 odd kilometers drive, to get him into rehab before the lockdown started. Into RAEL, because on Facebook, if you go and even Google now, go and read the stories. If all the stories that are published there are true, then they have truly done a remarkable job. But unfortunately, as I will explain just now, that experience is way, way off from what is being advertised there. The farm is a nice farm, but it's a farm. As Rian, said, it's very rough. So yes, your kid is an addict. Does that mean he needs to live rough? I suppose that's up to you, But what about the therapy? What about the therapists that are promised? What about the 3 times a week therapy sessions? What about group sessions? What about working a program? What about the 12-step program? What about making or changing the child? It's my child. So in my experience, what about changing my child? What about making my child understand what makes him pick up? And what about healing him? And I'm sorry to say this to you, that there's very little of that being done there.
Now,
At the same time,
do they claim to be doing that in their promotion?
Okay, what happens at RAEL is, and this comes from the words of my son, the way he described it is that in this rehab, there's an inner circle. The inner circle are the people who are allowed to be close to Kurt Schuler, to Anthony Hall, to his mom, basically the people who live inside the house on the farm. The people who live outside the house in the dormitories, they run a reasonably good program. Okay, it seems as if a guy called AD is the main man running that program. Kurt oversees the management of the farm, the food, the ordering, whatever. And Mr. Hall, at that time when my son got there, spent a lot of time in the house, but at that time it was lockdown, so he could not go anywhere. He could not go where he wanted to go, which I believe is casinos, because the moment lockdown opened up and you could get to casinos, that's where he went. And he went there with my son for 2 solid months virtually. I speak under correction, it might have been six weeks, but he just, with my son and 2 or 3 other guys with him, in a perpetual non-stop driving exercise from town to town, but every single town was near a casino, and every single time that they drove, they went to visit a casino. I'll get into more. I'll get into more of that.
Can I just clarify something here? What you're saying, excuse me. What you're saying here, Louis, is that people who are supposed to be in the RAEL Rehab Center are taken out of the RAEL Rehab Center by Anthony Hall and go on drives with him around the country.
100%. How
aren't
he selects those
aren't they supposed to be staying behind in the RAEL Rehab Center?
Well, when I queried this, Anthony Hall said to me, your son never came to us as a patient for recovery. Your son came to us to work, which is utter bullshit. I'm sorry for that, but that's what it is. When my son was at the first rehab, we had arranged that in between working and programs, there would be the free time that he would have in the day. He would be able to work in our business, okay, his and my family business,
right?
So that we could generate the funds with which to pay them. Okay. When we went to Anthony, and when I phoned Anthony and I discussed it with him, he said, sure, no problem. There'll be hours in which he can work. Okay. So when I took Carl down to there, he went with his laptop, okay, with the equipment with which he could help me work and produce an income to help pay for his stay there.
Right.
Okay. My son, Carl, is an addict. He's in a better rehab at the moment, and he's doing way better. Okay, but he is an addict, and he is an opportunist. He's a manipulator, as all addicts are. And when they see an opportunity where they can improve their situation, specifically when they are still busy with recovery work, okay, they are masters at manipulator. So Carl explained to us, when we because of lockdown, we were not able to see him from, remember he went there the last week of March, when lockdown happened in South Africa, and we were able to visit him for the first time in August, somewhere in August, when interprovincial travel was opened again. So we drove down to the Western Cape, my wife and I, and we visited. We were able to bring him out to us, and we stayed in a B&B for the weekend. And Carl said to us clearly that Anthony David Hall is a narcissist. That is how what he labeled the man. He said the man is all about himself and about nothing else. He said, however, the program that we've been running here is good, and it's teaching me how to cope so that when I leave here one day I'll be fine. Okay? At that stage, Carl was attending their morning programs, which seemed to have, from what I understood, seemed to have been a morning session in which they work the 12 steps, the NA book, and that sort of thing. And then in the afternoons they were more free to interact, but there was never, Carl will agree with us, there was never any kind of therapist. There was never any kind of professional there to help them. The only professional, according to Carl, that ever came to that farm is Dr. Rina, Mr. Hall's fiance, who is a medical doctor and who sees to the patients there if they have a medical problem. Okay, so if you go Google the website, and you'll see what all they promised. None of it happens. Carl, however, told us that within a short space of time of being there, he saw that this inner circle, people who live in the house, they live better than the guys who live outside the house. And Carl was adamant. He said, well, I mean, I saw this, and therefore I wanted to be there. Who would not want to be there? He said, for instance, I said, like what, Carl? He said, well, firstly, you don't have curfew. You don't have to sleep. People inside that house stay awake all night if they want to. And they have TV, and they eat takeouts. They don't eat the food that's prepared for everybody else on the farm. The people that's there eat takeouts. Within 2 months of being there, my son was allowed to drive alone into town, okay, to go buy food for everybody.
Wow.
This is a recovering addict.
That's wrong.
Exactly. And not only Carl, other people too. Okay, so at some stage they allowed Carl to manipulate them into the point where they thought, okay, well, so what? And he was never tested. Okay, so Carl says he never used, but I mean, really, this is someone who's in your care, who's come there because he's an addict, because he has a problem. Okay, someone that is paying you 12,000 Rand a month, okay, to be cared for. Let me just go back to the 12,000 Rand a month, because Mr. Hall will criticize what I'm saying, because within a short space of time, when Carl manipulated himself into the house, the way he did it is because he's very computer wise. He knows things about computers that many people don't know. He knows how to operate them, how to set them up. And he noticed that they were struggling with their computer systems, and they were struggling with their live shares. And if somebody went now back and looked at how many people they had on their live shares compared to when Carl took over and started running their live shares, you will notice visibly the differences. Okay, you will notice that when Carl interfered and helped them, they just skyrocketed. I mean, the volume of viewers just went up and went up. And I'm not saying that's purely because of Carl, but I'm saying that he added to it. Okay, and that put him in a position where they allowed him to not do normal recovery, to not do what he was meant to do there. And the day when we went to visit, I had this discussion with him and said to him, but Carl, you're not doing recovery. You're not working recovery anymore. For the last 2 months, or so. I said to him, I worked to him, we were like, for the last 2 months, you're not working recovery. When I look for you, when I find you, or when I want to speak to you, because by then he was able to have a cell phone that he could talk to us on, with messages, which again that's a separate standard that's now, or different standard that's set for him and the other people in the house. But what about the other guys who are living in the dorms? How do you create a rehab that has one set of rules for this guy because he can help me with a computer, and a different set for a guy who can't? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And I just want to say publicly here, guys, look, I would welcome Anthony Hall on a live stream to answer some of these allegations that have been raised here tonight. And okay, but back to you,
I
Lou.
have no problem with Anthony Hall being on a live stream.
Yeah.
Anthony Hall has threatened me as he has threatened Rian.
How has he
Not as
threatened
bad,
you?
not as badly as he's threatened Rian, but he's threatened me. He's told me I have multiple voice messages. My wife, Barbara, went to Facebook. Having a child or having anybody in the family that's an addict, unless you've experienced it, I cannot explain to you the grief it brings to a family. I cannot explain to you the destruction, the pure destruction it does in a family. You had loggerheads about how to deal with this. You and your wife fight about who's right in how you deal with this. Okay, I'm an Afrikaner. I'm a Dutchman. Okay, I was born and raised that if something goes wrong, you sort it out face to face. You don't need therapy. You don't need a therapist to come and help you. You sort things out a certain way, and then suddenly this disease comes along, and it's in your child who you love. It breaks the family. Then you have people like Anthony David Hall, who are respected at one stage, who exploits people who are down like this. He stands on them. He calls them losers. I have 2 or 3 messages in which he refers to other addicts who's not driving in the car with him as losers. I have the proof. I have it on my phone. Okay, that's why I'm willing to say it here on an open air situation like this, where people can see me and see that I'm not lying.
Right.
I have it on my phone and I can prove it to you. Anthony Hall, my wife posted a beautiful thing about the pain that a family goes through and how you still have to love that boy.
Yeah.
And healing. Okay, and this was after Carl had left them. Okay, and I received, I'm not lying to you, a minimum of 10 voice messages that day, probably closer to 30, okay, from Anthony Hall. No invitation, no mention of Anthony Hall, no mention of Rael, no mention of Kurt, no mention of anything to do with Anthony Hall's organization. But he reaches out to me with a voice note that starts with, "That is it, Mr. Olivier. I'm going to fuck you up." That is the voice note that he starts with.
Wow.
Okay? Now, I'm not going to take that kind of thing. Not from a psychopath like him. This man doesn't know. This man doesn't know that he's not Superman. He thinks he's bulletproof. That's what he thinks he is. But he went on and he lambasted me and my family. I cannot explain to you, I cannot even tell you some of the vile things he said about me and my daughter. My daughter, who he hasn't even got the right to put her name in his mouth, the scumbag. I have the recordings, and I can play them to you if you want to hear them, of the shit he speaks about my daughter, my 25-year-old beautiful girl. What kind of man makes that kind of voice note to you?
Yeah.
Suggestion. What kind of sick human being? What makes it worse is my daughter is adopted. She was adopted when she was 3 weeks old by my wife and I. She's 25 years old and she's a black lady, a beautiful young black girl that has never in her life even been with a boyfriend. She's 25 years old. We've protected her with everything we can. And this lowest of lowest human beings has the audacity to speak rubbish like that about my daughter? Would you blame me, Scott, if I saw him now and I wanted to break his head? Would you blame me? If someone spoke about a kid like this?
I totally get what you're saying. Look.
So I have these voice notes. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. I shouldn't. I have these voice notes. Okay. Let me just retract. I want something that Rian said. I want to concur with. Okay. Firstly, let's talk about the 4.5 kilometers, more or less, of the road.
Right.
If you don't know that area, even when we drove that road, when you get to the end of the gravel road, it is extremely confusing. Your natural instinct is to take a turn to the left. If you take a turn to the right, the Worcester is 4.5 kilometers away from you. But the way the road flows, if you take a turn to the left, which if you're walking and you don't know the area, it's very possible. Then it becomes probably a 20-kilometer walk, okay? Because that road circles and it ends up back on the main highway and you end up in town. And if he had followed that, the first time we went there, I drove the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I can understand him walking the wrong way, okay? Yeah, okay, that's just something I wanted to agree with. Carl told us stories of a guy coming in there. Okay, Carl actually, when he left there, he told us stories of a guy coming in there similar to Rian and leaving, and that when he wanted to leave, that they actually took his phone and threw it on the floor in front of him, smashed it, and said, there's your phone, you can walk. Carl told us about the wording, there's the gravel road, take it and fuck off. Those were Carl's words, and that's what these people would say to anybody who came there and didn't want to stay there. Okay, this is hearsay from Carl, but this is the information Carl gave us when he left there. Okay, you cannot criticize Anthony Hall. Okay, I know that tomorrow he's going to, even tonight, he's going to lash out at me. I can tell you that. I can tell you what else he's going to do, and then I will sue him. Okay, he's going to break the confidentiality between what Carl has shared with him and his people in rehab. He's going to break that confidentiality because he's going to open up things about my family, okay, and what has happened in our past. And I say here to everybody, I'm not ashamed of I am ashamed of some of the things I've done in the past, but they're my past. I've gone past it and I'm moving on, okay. But I do know that he will not tolerate this discussion. Anthony David Hall is actually right now, if he's listening to this, he's busy swearing. I can tell you that. He can't help himself, okay, because I've had the discussions with voice notes with him. He can't help himself. He's now busy fuming and swearing. Nobody goes against Anthony David Hall. It's as simple as that. If you go against him, you're not on his farm anymore, or you're not on his approved list anymore. And as far as and he will go as far as you've heard what he's done with Rian, with death threats, etc.
Right.
He's told me multiple times that he's going to stop in Port Alfred at my house. Multiple times. He hasn't said he's going to stop and kill me, but he's told me multiple times that he'll stop in Port Alfred at my house one day, and I welcome him. Okay, so let's talk about Carl leaving. Okay, so
before you do,
sorry?
Do you want to play one of those calls that you got from Anthony Hall?
I don't have the recordings, but Let me just see what I have close by.
Just play one of them.
Yeah, no, Carl is so clever with computers. He showed me pornography with you. So what are you trying to talk about? You think Carl's the only one who knows computers? Get a life.
If I call you an asshole one more time, I can't help.
Okay, that was him first, and me obviously responding, alleging that Carl showed him pornography of me. Okay, that's how clever Carl is with computers.
Okay, dickhead, call me arsehole, you're a dickhead. Remember, I never went to prison for fraud, eh? Just get that right. My record is clean.
All right.
See, you degraded yourself to other groups. What a lonely fuck you are. Why did you come face me? Or are you too busy making videos with black people, black women? You know...
There again, Anthony Hall's favorite saying, the moment that you challenge him, is he will either accuse you of fraud, he'll find the warrant of arrest for you, as he has for somebody else on Facebook, supposedly find the warrant of arrest, which is bullshit. Carl says the man just speaks shit. That's all he does. He starts lying. The second thing that he'll accuse you of is of sleeping with black women. The man does not understand that by merely saying that, he is a racist. Because what is wrong with sleeping with black women?
Yeah.
If you say to me, you may not sleep with a black person because I'm white, then you're a racist, clearly, or are you not?
Yep, I agree.
Is it because I'm sleeping with a black woman or with a woman that there's a problem? He has a problem because somebody might be sleeping with a black woman. He has not only accused me, but multiple other people on Facebook.
Right. Now
you can research it, okay?
Yeah. Let's go back to when Carl was leaving. What happened?
Okay, so if you remember, we were visiting Carl in August, and then the Sunday they did their first road trip. The road trip, as far as I remember at that stage, Carl said was that they were going to go to the local population, to the people, the rural people, the people in the small towns, and discuss, what do you think about what Julius Malema has said? What do you think about what Zuma has said? What do you think this? And that is where they were supposed to start. And they did. The first, if you go look at some of their first live videos, they actually traveled to small towns and spoke to the local fishermen and discussed, what do you feel of the politics, etc., etc. But Carl said that very soon what he noticed was that the evening or the afternoon, as soon as they've done a live show or something, they would find a casino. And invariably their travels would find a casino along the route. And that is where they would spend the rest of the day or the evening. And that happened for about 6 weeks to 2 months, that Carl could do absolutely no work for our business, but he also did absolutely not one stitch of recovery work, because he was in a car 24 hours a day, basically driving with Anthony Hall. Okay, oh well, most of the day, and then sleeping wherever they were and gambling. Carl and Graham were the two favorites, and then they take somebody like Tank or I think Kurt went once, but Kurt was normally left behind at the farm to run the farm, because somebody had to chase people off on the gravel road, and obviously that was Kurt's role. It got to the point where I couldn't even speak to Carl. When I tried to speak to him, he'd say to me, "Dad, we're busy and I can't speak to you now." And I'd say to him, "But I need something about a client." And he'd say, "I can't help you now. This man won't let me deal with a client now. Now it's his business is more important than anything. As I said, at that stage, my wife got quite seriously ill. Doctor was very worried about her, and I just said, you know, I'm not paying for my son to drive around the countryside when he should be in a rehab. I'm going to fetch him. He needs to come home. He needs to help me cope with the problem I have at home with a sick wife. And I phoned Kurt and went and fetched Carl. It just so happened that the day I phoned Kurt, he said they were coming back that same day from a road trip, and I drove to Worcester, and the next morning, and I picked up Carl. And we left some of his stuff behind, and he came home. And on the road trip back, within a short space of time, he divulged to me that he had actually been sending messages to his girlfriend, a friend that he's known from school, but that him and her were building some sort of relationship. Messages that he had not sent me because he said, as he told her, he was afraid, firstly, that I as a parent would say he's trying to get out of rehab with his concerns. And more than likely at that stage I would have. If he had approached me and said, Dad, I don't like being here, this is happening, I would more than likely have said to him, why are you trying to get out of the year that you promised me you're going to be in rehab? Instead of looking at what the situation was.
Now, was that in breach of the court order? Him going out to casinos and stuff like that? Because wasn't there a court order which said he had to be in rehab?
Yeah, the court order was for the first 6 months, and I don't know if they had extended it, but I had gone to the public prosecutor, and he'd said to me, well, if he's going to stay there till the end of the following year, which would have been 10 months longer than he was meant to, he said he's pretty sure they would just throw the case out. So at that stage, I don't know if he was still under the court order or not.
Right.
But that's a very valid question, and it's something that Anthony David Hall should know, because he's the expert.
There's one other question I have for you. In a lot of his videos, especially when he's in the house, I guess it's the house on the farm that he does the videos, but there are clearly some guys around him, and they treat him with such great respect. They call him Mr. Hall, and you know, it's like they're almost subservient to him. Are those the guys we're talking about that actually have the special privileges, and are they people in rehab?
Some of them are people in rehab that have never left. Graham, for instance, was supposed to be running a workshop on the farm, panel beating workshop, but like Carl was definitely there in rehab, okay, and he treated Carl like a slave, as he treated Angus, the one guy who's looking after his mom, is also there as a you know, in rehab, doing recovery, and then Tank is also there was also there doing recovery. I understand Tank has left. So yes, those people that was supposed to be there in recovery, Anthony Hall made his personal assistants, for want of a better word.
And I guess if they crossed Anthony Hall, they would be then thrown out of the house and go back into one of the Wendy houses or something like that.
Yeah. If you go listen to some of his live shares, you will hear him say to somebody, once I actually phoned Carl and I said, do you allow this man to speak to you like this? And Carl said to me, Dad, you don't understand this man. If I go against him, I will be out of here. And I left it for when we would meet, and that's when he told us that he's a complete narcissist that weekend, and he said, but he's there to do his program, he just wants to get through it. Once he said to Carl, on live, if you go listen to the live shares, you'll pick it up, where he'll say to somebody, where the F is my cigarette? Why have I not got a cigarette?
That,
You've picked it up.
Yeah.
He's a demigod inside that organization, okay? And he treats everybody else like they below him. That's my personal viewpoint.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Carl. To Carl leaving there, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So the day I picked Carl up and we started driving home, He said to me, has Dominique not spoken to you? And I said, no. And then it turned out that he'd been sending Dominique voice notes in which he said, I'm scared. We're on the road. We're being forced to lie. We're being forced to stand and make videos that are utter nonsense. He said, situations like where they're supposed to have traveled to a flashpoint in South Africa, where they're halfway there and stop and on the side of the road make a video and say they're here by this place, but they're not even anywhere near the place. And they're here to support the family and whatever the case may be, and then they get back in the car and they find the nearest casino. Carl, I said, you're not serious. Carl said to me, look at this, Dad, and he opened up his wallet and he took out, I think, if I remember correctly, it was something like 13 casino cards. Are there even 13 casinos in the Western Cape or in the Eastern Cape or wherever? I'm talking about a different casino's card that he was taking my son into. Now my son is an addict. Okay, casinos is a form of addiction. Mr. Hall says it's not a form of addiction. Okay, he can do with his money what he wants to. What he's not telling people is that's not all his money. That's money that's supposed to be in the rehab, as Kurt has alluded to in the last 2 days. Okay. Secondly, I've got videos of Carl took pictures of them in the casinos. When I've challenged Anthony on those casinos, on why he's been in the casinos, he said, I meet in casinos because I'm a man under attack. There's always someone looking to hurt me, and there's no greater security than inside a casino. That's what this man says. I have the voice recordings of that. I would have to pull it out, but I have it. I've saved everything that he said like this.
I think those core recordings. I think those core recordings you played a short while ago basically speak for themselves, and they're shocking beyond belief. And you just took 3 randomly.
Just out of the blue, I took them. I didn't line them up at all. But I'd like to play you one that my son sent to his girlfriend 2 days before I went to fetch him.
Please do.
If I may. Now, my son is an adult, so yes, you think, okay, well, this is a grown man, but he's still my son. You understand? He's still my son. And when you get this kind of voice note, fortunately, I was in the car with him driving back when I heard it the first time, because he had sent it to the girlfriend. So I want to be sure,
Hey, beautiful girl, I wanted to just tell you again, baby, I promise you I didn't do that filthy shit. And I couldn't agree with you more, love. I can't fucking do this anymore. It's so fucked up. Please listen to me carefully, baby, and don't panic. I'm just giving you a heads up because the man is like a fucking loose wire. If I go quiet or I don't message you at any point in the next 48 hours, or you're unable to get hold of me, I want you to just please contact my mom and dad and tell them exactly everything that I've told you, babe. Only if, okay? I love you, babe.
What's he talking about?
What kind of message do you get when your son? Well, okay, thank God I never got that before I went to fetch him, because if I had, I would have found them on the road somewhere, and I might have done something that I would now be sorry about. But when I was driving down to fetch Carl, Dominique sent that message to my wife. Okay, and can you imagine what my wife felt?
Yeah.
Feeling. Can you hear the worry and the scaredness in my son?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, isn't that he could be playing us, but he comes home with multiple pictures of them in casinos. He comes home with multiple casino cards. He comes home with a voice recording. It's very low on here. In the car, he started recording when he wasn't driving. He started recording whatever they were talking about, because he was fearing that he said to me that he was getting to the point where he was going to say, Mr. Hall, I cannot stand on the side of the road and lie for you anymore. I cannot stand here and bullshit people that we are doing something. For instance, let's just go to the terrible thing, Brendan Horner being killed
Yes.
in Paul Roux, okay? They drove all the way there to stand outside the wall that says you are now entering Paul Roux. They didn't see one family member. They didn't move past the wall. They didn't go and see anybody in Paul Roux to say sorry about what happened. They stood there, and Anthony Hall made himself a hero because he's now again reached out to somebody who's been hurt. And they got in their bucky and they looked for the next casino.
Gosh.
This is the type of man that we are dealing with. Now, I am, yeah,
But in that voice clip that you played with your son talking a moment ago, it sounded like he was in fear of his life. What was that about?
That's exactly when we were driving. I said to him, Cole, why didn't you phone me? Why didn't you, wherever you were stopping, why didn't you phone me? He said to me, Dad, you don't understand the level of this man. He said, if I had to say to him, that's it. He said they would stop in the middle of wherever I am, in the middle of the freeway somewhere, wherever, and they would drop me off, and he says they would probably leave me with only my shirt and my pants on.
Wow.
That's the kind of human being you are dealing with. You are dealing with an exploiter. 2 or 3 times he has said to me, you are losers. People like you and your son are losers. And we don't have time for losers. My son is an addict that went to him for healing and caring. And what did he get? He got destruction. He was fine when he could help you, Anthony Hall. He was fine when he saw to your ratings soaring. Okay? He was fine when he was looking after you and your interest. But the moment he was nothing to you anymore, you did what you set out to do. I have a copy of the voice note, of the WhatsApp sent by Natasha Dietlefsa. I don't know how to say her name, but she was a big follower of Anthony Hall. She was even on some of his live talks, okay, in which she clearly says, look what Mr. Hall has made me do. He manipulated me and Lee J to get dirt on Carl because he wanted to destroy Carl. That was the wording this man used. He said it to me. Okay, I read that.
Now,
Natasha sent that.
Lee Jane, just so people understand, is a lady who lives in the UK, I believe, but she spends her life on social media checking people out for Anthony Hall. Is that correct?
That's correct. And Lee J and Carl had a beautiful relationship. They were talking to each other. They had a beautiful relationship in the beginning when Carl was there. But the moment that Lee J stopped serving Anthony Hall's needs, but became too interested in Carl, Anthony Hall told her to start to find a sexual angle on Carl and get him to send her videos or pictures so that he had dirt on Carl. The same thing he told Natasha Dietlefs. The same thing. And that's what she opened up to Dominique. She actually admitted that. I've got it on WhatsApp, okay, from Natasha. Why do you think Natasha has disappeared? Why do you think Lee J had disappeared for how long? When last did you see Lee J on his shares? Until about a month ago, I think she came back. How long was she gone? I told Anthony Hall, and I tell him again, that using those 2 girls, somebody else who I don't know, suddenly approached me on one of the shares and then wanted my personal WhatsApp and then wanted to talk to me privately. And I said, look here, you're a beautiful young girl, but I'm a married man. And she said, oh, don't be like that, man. But she came directly from an Anthony Hall live feed. Okay? This is what he does. He finds people who he can manipulate, or in some way he gets them to try and find dirt on you. Okay? And then he uses that dirt against you. And I said to Anthony David Hall that using Lee J and using Natasha Dietlose in that manner is nothing less than abuse, gender abuse. That's what it is. And I challenge anyone to say that that is not so. How do you ask a young girl who's in a wheelchair, who slaves for you? I've got a WhatsApp from DJ complaining about not being paid by this man, about not getting a salary by this man. Okay, what kind of abuse is that, Scott?
Yeah.
How do you exploit people like that?
Yeah.
This is a girl in a wheelchair battling to provide for herself. I mean, the courage this kid has, the courage that she has, and she works for this kind of, he's nothing more than a despot.
Yeah. Now, Louis, I would love to arrange a face-to-face live stream with you and Anthony Hall, so he could answer some questions and he could perhaps just respond. Are you interested in participating in something like that?
At any time.
Okay, so the challenges are to Anthony Hall. We will happily organize a live stream with you on, and we'll just let you guys talk, because obviously you've got a lot to get off your chest, and I think the best way to do it is to have Anthony Hall on with you, so that you know, he has a chance to respond.
I would love it, and I would love to say this clearly. Keep him in a different city to me.
Oh, look, he would be.
You'd have to. Keep him in a different city to me.
He'd probably be on the farm.
Yeah, you have no idea, Scott, how many times I've driven down to Worcester in my mind. Because, again, that's who I am. That's me. I saw things out face to face.
Yeah. And
I say to Anthony Hall, come face to face. He's threatened me. He's coming to my house multiple times. He can come anytime he wants to.
Right.
Anthony Hall is nothing more than a schoolyard bully. Nothing more. He likes to brag. He likes to bully. And when you show him that you are scared of him, he tries to run all over you. He's nothing more than a schoolyard bully. I want to please, if I can end with this.
Yeah, go ahead.
When Carl then came home to us and we spoke about, okay, what do we do next, Carl? How do we keep you clean? Is this program that you've done up until now good enough? Is it strong enough to keep you clean off the drugs? And he said, yes, Dad, it can. And for about 2 weeks it worked. But during those 2 weeks, him and Dominique came under severe pressure from everybody associated with Rahel. I'm talking about, sorry, the inner circle.
Right.
Multiple people who were following the live shares and that asked us, where's Carl, what's Carl, how's he doing? A lot of people loved him, but he was not given the chance to recover because Kurt and Anthony Hall set out to destroy him. Firstly, he left a computer back there. Carl is sharp enough on computers that when they opened the computer that day, he got a notice that somebody's interfering on his computer, yet they were able to destroy his client database to such an extent that I roughly calculated to re-establish that, to recover that, to put that back into space. This is multiple clients that he has built up over the last 12 years. Okay, their data, their tax returns, their multiple types of forms, whatever, everything scrambled. So to recover that, I estimated roughly would take about 45,000 rands worth of hours, at least. But suddenly, he found himself in a position where if you phoned him, Scott, and said, Carl, what was my 2019 tax return or assessment? He would have no cooking clue where to find it, right, because everything was jumbled. Okay, Carl phoned them and he warned them. And he said, why are you fiddling on my computer? Kurt was there. Secondly, that computer, together with a number of clothing items and valuable stuff to Carl, was being sent to us via courier from Kurt and from Anthony Hall. They both know that. Okay? It's still coming. That was, I think, what was it, October last year? It's still coming. So like Rian said earlier, like they haven't paid him back his money, that is their modus operandi. You arrive there, you're in a type of a prison. If you don't want to be there, these guys will play gangster over you. Should that be happening in a rehab? No. Should that be happening to somebody who's already down? Are you not then just kicking the kid with the glasses when he's lying on the ground? Schoolyard bully, that's all he is. Well, that's what I would like to get with.
Yeah, well, we'll try and organize a live stream with you as a father and talking about your son's experiences with Anthony Hall and just get his side of the story, because, you know, there are always two sides to the story. What you told us tonight has been quite extraordinary, and I would be absolutely furious if that was my child.
Exactly. Thank you for understanding, and yeah, that's where I'm at. Let me say this, that to anybody who's been hurt out there, other addicts that might have not known what's going on today, let me first, I mean, over the last 2 days, sorry, that's not known what's happened over the last 2 days with the split between Kurt and him and whatever's happening there. I want to say to those addicts that every single one of you that has actually said, hang on, let me seek help, let me go into a rehab, each one of you, by taking that step, you are doing yourself a phenomenal favor, even if it is the wrong rehab. To the families who are part of those people, I say, please research where you are sending your son, and please research it thoroughly. I thought that by just looking at the internet, I have found the place. And sorry, we didn't make that mistake with a second rehab, well, the rehab Carl is at now, and he's at a rehab in East London called Four Brothers Rehab that run things completely differently, and he's doing exceptionally well for the people. There are many people who've asked me how he's doing, and he's doing exceptionally well. I've seen him, we saw him this Saturday, and his mental state is better than it's been in the last 15 years. So in spite of Anthony Hall, and in spite of you trying to destroy him, Anthony Hall, you're probably looking at this, or your minions are looking at this. I'm saying to you that your best could not do it, but your best could not do it. So come and speak to me face to face. You and me against each other. Come. You don't have to have any other parties. And let's discuss who's right and who's wrong. And maybe you'll see it in yourself to say sorry to the people you've hurt, the multiple people you've hurt. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. And look, I'll get Marlena to contact you through Rian. But if you can give your, well, Rian's got your cell number, so if you can give that to Rian, and if Rian can contact Marlena, so she can get in direct contact with you, and Marlena is in contact with Anthony Hall, so we'll try and set up another live stream where you guys can just talk. And
Okay.
let's see if Anthony Hall has got the balls to come on. But it's, you know, you said you'd love to do that, so the ball's very much in Anthony Hall's court.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for doing this. I think some other people might have shied away from it.
Yeah, no, look, I don't shy away from anything, and I look, I don't see how two men can make this shit up. I mean, you know, this is clearly an issue, and I'm sure we've got other people who will be coming on our live stream later this month who are also from rehab and stuff like that, who've been at Rail, and we'll just have a listen to what they have to say, like I have tonight to you and to Rian.
Yeah, I believe that there are people who've been through Rail who've done very well. And there's a section that if you just do your thing there and you don't want to be part of the inner house and you just do the recovery programs that they run, in the end, you'll be successful. Something turned, something went wrong with Mr. Hall. Maybe it's the dosage of medication he's taking, I don't know. Something went wrong. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe I should just convey what Carl said to us on Saturday. We were sitting and talking on Saturday, having lunch together, and we were talking about Rael and you know, Anthony Hall and the nonsense. And Carl said, amongst everything, he said, you know what, Dad, you know what, family, the man needs help. And like I needed help, the man needs help. Somebody needs to be able to help him, to make him see that what he's doing is hurting others. And I'm saying that to you now, and I don't want to say it, because everything inside me wants to drive to Worcester today and to see that guy face to face.
Yeah, well, look, let's wait for a live stream.
Yeah, but I will end it by saying that is what my boy said.
Yeah.
He said we should not be angry with him. We should be trying to help him.
Right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much, Louis. Look, we'll be in touch, and can I quickly speak to Rian?
Yeah, I'll get Rian, yeah?
Okay. Hi, Rian.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Wow, what a testimonial. That is quite extraordinary. Rian, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, and obviously Louis as well. You know, all we've done at this point in time is put out your perspective on what happened, and I've reached out to Anthony Hall, who I'm sure is listening right now, and so that we can get him on and we can get his perspective. I suggest with Louis, so that, you know, Louis is fully aware of the facts, I'm not, so the two of them can actually sit it out, slug it out, debate it, and let's hope we can get some reconciliation.
Yes, great.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Rian. I'm going to wrap up this live stream now, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the moderators for looking after the side chat. We've got close to 400 people watching at the moment, and I just want to say to everybody, please be safe. And look, let's wait until we get Anthony Hall on before we jump to any conclusions. I think he needs to be able to say his piece, but some of the stuff I've heard tonight is shocking beyond belief. I'll leave it at that. Alrighty, I'll leave the side chat on for a few minutes so you can say your goodbyes to each other, but I'm going to now wrap up this live stream and Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com. We are going to have the most comprehensive independent platform on South African news, not just videos. If you go and have a look at the links at the top, you'll see that we're going to have contributing channels in there. We've got about 10 YouTube channels that we'll actually be putting up their videos as well on lovinglifetv.com, and they have a common denominator, and that is that they're all about South African news. And you'll notice we have a forum in there, and Nat Quinn is doing a fantastic job with that forum. If you want to find out articles or topical issues like secession, it's all there in the forum. So I encourage you guys to join that, as well as lovinglifetv.com. All right, guys, take care, and I'm going to log out now, and tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we have another live stream. We have live streams every night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. Take care, guys. Bye for now.
Thanks, Scott. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers, Louis.
Cheers,
Rian.
Scott. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye for now.